Okay, so in this final video tutorial, we're going to look at the text tool and how to start adding text to our document. Now you're going to notice I already had a few layers of text here created, and I believe I have one right here. And what I want to do is I want to kind of group these so they're all in the same place. So let me move, I'm going to grab this text layer and drag it up so I kind of know they're all in the same spot. And I'm going to make a folder here. Right down here in the lower right, I'm going to make a folder and I'm going to call it text so that I know that all of my text is in that folder. Let me drag them all into the folder. And so when you have many objects that are grouped together, like let's say a graphic with some text, you can put them in a folder and label it. So if I turn this on and off, all of the text layers go off now because it's the entire folder. Now let's start with this blue-green algae text up here, which is my title. I double-clicked on the T to select all of the text, and I'm going to show you how I got that text like this. Let me copy the text itself, and let me delete that. So there's no more text there. I'm going to go grab my text tool down here and click over here. So my cursor is just blinking there. And I'm going to paste the text that I had before. Take my move tool and move this over. And you could use your arrow keys on your keyboard to nudge it as well. So the next thing I did was I changed the color of my text. So let me just double click this again to select the text. I notice all the properties for my text come up here, the fonts and so on and so forth. And I'm going to choose a color. So let's try green, maybe a bright green. And once that's done, I can add some layer effects if I want. You don't have to, but again, I was playing with layer styles before. I could try the bevel and emboss again, and maybe increase the depth of the bevel. And you can kind of have fun with that, and maybe put a drop shadow or outer glow. Let's see what the outer glow looks like. We can increase that. There, the spread and the size. Right now it's got this blend mode screen. You can put it to normal and see what that's like. If you don't like that, you can try the drop shadow. Turn the outer glow off. Click on the menu for drop shadow. Let's set this to normal. And the spread of the drop shadow and the size, let's increase that. And you can see it increasing there. Let's put the opacity up and maybe the distance. And there. Okay. So you can play with all those effects until you get the impact that you want. Now, referring back to the text tool, if we go to the properties, so again, I can double click on this to select all the text. The properties are here for your text tool. And there's some interesting properties in here from the font, which was also up here. But you have other interesting properties, such as the spacing between lines, this 14 points here, or how far apart you want the letters to be. Right now it's minus 25. Let's say I put it at plus 25. That increases the gaps between each letter. So I needed it a little tighter to fit within my magazine frame. And you have some italices here and the bold effect and so on and so forth. So you could make a lot of changes right there. And you see right now it goes almost from end to end, and I don't want it touching the edge of the cover. So again, I go back to my text tool and maybe I bring it a little tighter. Let's see what the minus 50 did. Much better. Next, I'm going to put some headlines from people who have reviewed my film. Now, I'm making up the names of the people. That's fine. You can be creative with that. But the headlines themselves, what am I going to put in the magazine? So it's the same concept as somebody reviewing a movie. And I'm going to go back to my original document for Strand B2, which was my outline. And let's say I decide, okay, the first thing that's going to inform my document or that I'm going to have a review on is this. So I actually copied this from here, and then I jumped to Photoshop. I clicked my text tool, And you could click and draw a text box if you want, and then any text you have that you paste will fit in there. Now, of course, it's by default the size of 136 from before. So just click anywhere inside that text box, select all, that's Command A, and go back here and put it at a more reasonable font size. And the -50, we can put it back to 0. It doesn't have to be that tight together. And you'll notice how close the lines are together, the spacing. They cross over into each other. So the spacing, we can increase that to maybe 24, but you can also put it on auto. Sometimes I don't like auto because the spacing's too much. So at least, if I put it on 24 or 30, I can control the real estate in my poster a little more. So look at what I did here. I took these keywords: environmental repercussions, create dead zones in the water system, destroy ecosystems. Okay. I converted that into kind of like a headline that Debbie Smith from The Guardian would have written. It says, a terrifying look into the environmental repercussions of the effects of blue-green algae that are creating dead zones in freshwater lakes and destroying the entire ecosystems. That's what I wrote, what I got from this. And of course, I changed the font color to something like that. And I had also added a layer style. I think I just added a drop shadow for this. So here, drop shadow. Maybe, yeah, I think that was it, just a drop shadow. And so I don't need this because I already typed it out, but I just wanted to show you how I got there. So let me delete that layer. And of course, I also had my 5 stars. And there's the rating. So if I click on 5 stars, I can move that below. Now, the next headline that I was going to grab was the sources of blue-green algae. So we have pesticides, runoff, whatnot. So I decided I was going to write another headline. I didn't quite finish it. I was just babbling here, but I was going to say something about raw sewage and phosphates. Massively contaminate and put health or create health risks and create health risks. And then I could put an author for that. Notice this is italicized. I'm going to de-italicize this. It's in italics. I'm just going to put it regular. And then put the author over here, Frank Baum. And let's italicize Frank Baum. There we go. And here's the Montreal Gazette. And below that, I can get another star rating system. So let's see, I have some stars in here. Here's 5 stars, here's 4.5 stars. So again, we have that same issue we had last time. Now, remember, look, if I grab the star, my tolerance for the magic wand is at 14. I could set this much higher. Let's say to 45. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's only grabbing a 45 ranges of yellow that I clicked on. What if we went to the background instead? Let me deselect. Let's just go to the background and see if we can get something there. That's not too bad. And then invert that selection, copy it, and then go back to our magazine and paste that there like that. Now, of course, it looks different from these stars, so it looks a little funny. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go back to my 5 stars here, and I'll right-click, duplicate that one. I'll call it 4.5. Okay, so this 4.5 one, I'm going to move down here, and I'll cut half the star, half of the last star. So I select it, because remember, I'm on this layer. I selected half the star, I cut it, or I could lighten it. I have half of it selected. Go to Image, Adjust Levels, and I could just lighten it a lot, like that. Let's deselect, and there you go. So you could do something like that. And slowly but surely, I'll fill up my poster with some more graphics, some more text. But you've got really the fundamentals there of what you need to know in terms of text boxes, in terms of informing your audience what the documentary is about, using so-called expert reviews, and slowly your poster will start to come together.